except for the fact that it very clearly says in the original Greek, in John 1:1, that the Word was God. It very blatantly says.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't say the Word was God. It says the Word was divine. So we notice that the second instance of theos in John 1:1 lacks the definite article, unlike the first instance where it says, in arche, in hologos, in the beginning was the Word, kai hologos in proston theon, and the Word was with the God, kai theos in hos logos, and divine was the Word. Theos here is qualitative. It's not indicative of identity. It's the same way that Philo of Alexandria referred to this angel being as the deuteros theos, the second divinity.
You know that's verbatim a JW argument, don't you? The qualitative, everything you just said. Absolutely.
I'm not a Jehovah's Witness.
They're right sometimes.
I've heard that before. Well, that's not the case. That's just not because it's true. So obviously not the case.
It is the case.
Yeah, a broken clock. A broken clock is right like twice a day. Is that what they say?
Control the storm.
This is how the Greek word theos is used. This is how the Greek word theos and even the Hebrew word Elohim is used in the Hebrew Bible.
Even if the Bible was incredibly consistent, which it isn't, and it's been written, rewritten, it's had books removed and added. But even if it was super consistent, consistency does not make something true. Consistency in a story. I can tell you a story right now that's more consistent than the Bible, and that doesn't mean that what I'm telling you is true. So how did you determine that Jesus actually said these things in the Bible that somebody has claimed that he said?
The sheer amount of neurons in my brain, that in the precise configuration that they are in, I'm pretty confident in saying that that exact thing is not going to be reconstructed at any point. Do you know that every time you shuffle a deck of cards, that is almost certainly the very first time in the history of ever that those cards have been, any amount of cards, have been in that precise order? Because 52 factorial is a number bigger than like the number of atoms in the universe. So like every single time you mix some cards around, almost certainly that is the only time in history ever that those cards will be in that exact order. You have far more neurons than 52. So like, it stands to reason to say that the exact configuration of neurons in my brain is nothing that can be recreated at any time, especially considering the fact that it is constantly changing.
We believe in things that have evidence that leads to those conclusions, which is why we don't believe in a God, which is why we don't believe in an afterlife. If you have evidence for those things being real, you would have presented them already, but you don't. All you have is, I'm scared of death, therefore, let me just appeal to anything could be possible.
It is the actual definition of the argument from ignorance. This technically isn't proven as not a thing, therefore, we might as well assume that it is. That is the definition of the argument from ignorance. By the way, your worldview leads to hopelessness, and I'm going to explain to you why as soon as we get through this.
What is your test that leads you to believe that is definitely not true? Like, what's your test for it? There's no reincarnation.
How many times do I need to repeat? How many times do I need to repeat that I am not saying that is definitely not true? I'm saying I have no good reason to believe that it is true. So I'm just going to go on with my life as if it isn't, because I don't think that it is. I don't know for sure that it isn't. But what I can say is that the idea of reincarnation would require such a thing as a soul or a transfer of consciousness or something, and I have no evidence of anything like that existing. It would need some sort of an ether by which these things pass through. No evidence of anything like that existing. It would need some sort of way for one consciousness or soul or whatever to get into another living thing. No evidence of anything like that happening. It's just bullshit on top of bullshit on top of bullshit to explain bullshit. And I have no reason to believe that any of it is real.
Furthermore, I don't think anyone's biology is designed around anything.
On the internet, so the female is defined as an individual whose biological reproductive system is designed to produce ova.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
So I would completely reject that definition because it uses the word designed. Bodies aren't designed, bodies just exist.
And also this idea that everything's organized around producing ova. Like, what happens for women who don't produce ova? So are they not women if they don't produce ova?
I think they are, but
Right. So that's clearly not the factor that matters in describing someone as a woman or a female, right?
So a lot of these arguments are just a way to not clearly define what people mean. And so it can get really messy in that way. So if you say that a woman is somebody that produces ova, and then we say, well, but not everybody does, then the next move people will say is that, well, there are other characteristics that are organized around producing ova. But what that tells me is that you can't narrow down any of those traits that actually meet your definition of woman. And so if you're going to adhere to such a strict definition, you have to be able to keep a consistent definition for every example. And that seems like it's difficult to do from your framework.